What things have you learned to value, now that you're older?
I think uh, myself, maybe, like learning to trust and believe in myself. And I'm going to share that that's that's what I'm doing now. So if there's moms, they'll relate to this. When you're in your 20s and your 30s with your children, you're really just raising your children. You're busy. That is your whole mindset, everything. Um, and and in a good way. That's what we wanted. That's what we signed up for. We're excited to do it. But now, closer to 50, my kids are older, and so I'm slowing down and I'm remembering again who I was and what I was, and being gracious. Be so gracious to yourself. Start being kind. I never was. I was harder on myself than anyone. You're ugly. You're disgusting. You're dumb. That's why people don't be with you. Anything negative.
Mhm.
And I realize, one, get rid of the people that ever make you feel that way or say that, because you don't need that. You have yourself to cut yourself down if you need to, and you're probably your worst critic.
Yeah.
Um, but the graciousness is saying, yep, I did that and it's okay. Because I think every time I did something that wasn't what other people did, I necessarily assumed it was wrong.
Mhm.
And and then that was another reason I wasn't good enough, because I did it this way or I thought about it that way. And I'm learning it still, like, yep, that's the way you reacted or that's how you said it, and that's okay. Like, that doesn't mean you're not held accountable for if you've hurt other people's feelings or anything. It just means, like, you're kinder to yourself and you're saying, here's an example. I get high anxiety when I drive in the car. And so
As
I
a
will be like,
passenger or just in general?
it's right now, it's in general. I think COVID made it a little bit worse. It used to be just
Wow.
as a passenger. So you can imagine when I'm riding with people in the car, I'm always like, "Oh, I'm sorry because I'm doing this, and I don't need to apologize. I'm not doing this to hurt anybody,
Yeah.
right? I can't help that this is who I am. I get nervous. As a mom, I think my biggest fear is losing myself or my children, right, in a car accident or something, and so that's why I get uptight. Like, I trust my driving. I don't trust the people around me, and I don't want them taking me out. So, um, but just realizing that those little things about you, because always it was like, I'm the girl that, can't go on these long trips and can't do these things. And I'm not as good as everybody else because they all run around and have fun. Stop doing that. Just stop. Because I wouldn't say that to another person. If they told me that they got nervous in a car, I'd talk with them through it. But when it came to myself, right, that's what I'm learning. Those are the things that are helping me now, is to, like, treat yourself as good as you would treat your best friend or some. Half the time we treat strangers better than we treat ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So I forgot what the original question was. I'm sorry.
What things have you learned, or what things have you learned to value? That's what it was. Now that
Okay.
you're
And then,
older.
yep. So my friendships and my family, I think, I was never materialistic. And I'll say that, yes, I like nice things and I worked hard and I love shopping, but I never thought that that was the most important thing. I think I've always known that family was really important, definitely my children. Um, but you start to realize that, okay, so COVID is an example. When everything else is lost, right, when you're not doing all that shopping and doing those trips, what is the most important thing? And it's those relationships that you have with your family and friends, because that's, when I leave the earth, that's it. Like, I that's the impact I made or didn't make.
Mhm.
um, for me, I'm doing a little bit of empty nester right now, so there's that. It's different. And realizing that I'm getting older and one day won't be here. And so I just want to spend as much time with my kids, make my memories. I want them to know when I'm not here that they were loved. That's important to me.
Mhm.
Um, and I got stuff to do. Like, I'm up in arms about a lot of the racism and sexism and all of these things. And so I just want to those are some things I want to do. I want to be more active with that and working with that and share it with my children. And if I have grandchildren someday, um, because I think we've forgotten that we are all just human beings on this planet at the same time. We're not necessarily kind to each other.
Yep.
And I'm not miraculous. I'm not a hero. I'm exactly the way everybody else is supposed to be. I think we've just forgotten, right? Like, so
Yep.
if you need help, it's my job to help you. And it's
Mm.
your job to help me, not take advantage, but help. Like, we're all here in the same time trying to manage this place called Earth.
Yep.
So,
Manage is a good word. We
yeah.
are trying to manage it.
You
Yep.
know what? I got to be honest. I think I watched too much TV growing up. So I didn't have like an idea really of life because I had a single mom and she was very abusive. So it wasn't like I knew that wasn't normal. But when I looked to normal, it was like family ties and silver spoons. And you can get a really skewed idea of what life should be like. Young women, especially with expectations of partners,
Yep.
you're watching the man that comes in and he's attentive to every need. He actually thinks about it before you do. And he's so selfless. Um, I'm not saying men aren't that way. I'm saying it doesn't necessarily look the same as it does on TV when they are that way,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
for me, getting more, I love being with authentic people who are not sugarcoating it. They're not doing what you see on TV. It's just not reality. And I
Mm.
think I really was clouded by that for so much of my life. Like as a mom, this is what it should look like. These are the things that I should be doing. I didn't get up. I'm sorry, but I'm not getting up at 5 a.m. to make like this whole beautiful breakfast and on TV. But when they're having their breakfast, it looks like they've been up for hours. They're just having these conversations, like everything. That is not how it's happening. I'm barely awake. I'm like, I don't know what you need, but your backpack's over there. Let's there, right?
Yeah.
That is what we need. The
Yeah.
realistic, and maybe people will stop being so hard on themselves about what they aren't,
Yeah.
because we're
Yeah.
not the orange juice commercial. I can
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of times people don't realize too that the things that you see in movies, just like what you said with the breakfasts, somebody has to make that breakfast. So like who's the person like what you said, who's the person that's getting up to create that atmosphere for you?
yes,
It's funny that you're saying this because I just had an epiphany probably, I don't even know. It was a year or two ago, but my fiance and I, so you know how in movies, romantic movies, there's always that many times there's that part where the man grabs the woman and just starts like dancing around the kitchen and we're kind of like, "Oh, that's so sweet. That's so
yeah,
romantic." Well, my fiance actually in real life does that for real. But what's so interesting about it was I am so much of a go type of person that when him and I first met, I was like annoyed by him. Like I'd be cooking dinner, trying to make sure the onions don't burn. And he would grab me and swing me around and dip me and kiss me. Like for real, that would happen. But instead of being in the moment of awe, I'm in the moment of, dude, come on. Like I'm trying to freaking get all this stuff done. I'm starving. So at the same time, many times, and it took me probably a good year to actually realize, like, oh my gosh, exactly what I was always wanting is actually happening. And I'm not even embracing it the way that it would normally be embraced in a movie.
right,
So you also have to like be open to it. Like you were open to speaking to me, be open to the things that are happening in your life that are good, but then also like embracing it in the way that it is happening, that you see it in the movies, because a lot of times things like that are happening. Like
yeah,
your daughters are probably super sweet to you at times or all the time, or
yeah,
at
pretty
times,
much all the time.
and it probably does mimic things that are happening. But if you're not in the right mindset to receive it that way,
Yeah,
then good, amazing, beautiful, bubbling things are happening in your life consistently. But if we're not receiving it correctly, then it's almost as if it didn't happen.
Right.
So it's always like when I approached you because I, was reading some of your story or however that happened on that Facebook page, if you weren't open to receiving an opportunity or a conversation, with me to do this, because you're in the mindset of nothing ever happens for me and I'm, oh, woe is me, victimhood, you could have very easily bypassed this conversation and not even been open to it. And then when somebody else is talking a few months later, been like, oh, nothing good ever happens to me. I'll never tell my story. I'll never. So, the place where you're at now and the place that I'm at now and receiving things and being open to joy is a good place to be.
Yeah. And it takes work.
Yeah, it does.
And it takes work to stay there. And I want people to know that I know that sometimes you're in that place of joy and you can take a step back for a little bit and not be again. I think I wish I knew all of these things before, right? I wish I had known that it didn't look a specific way.
Yep.
That my journey was unique to me and it was okay. And I feel like just spending time with you. I remember writing to you and saying, I'm not really sure if I'm your girl. Because I'm not that. I did this and now my life is great.
Yeah.
I did a lot of little things. I have a pretty great life right now. And when you're talking about not realizing the moments, like I wanted that unconditional love. And you know what? When I met Rose and her sisters, you don't even know. Like they look like me. When I look at them, they look like me. They're the only ones. My siblings, nobody looks like me, but this family looks like me. They can tell me about my culture and they love me. Like they will love me. That I'm just going to say, God, that was sent to me. It was intentional. It was because that's the way it had to be. It didn't need to come from a man, and it didn't have to come in the form of a man. And it's probably better that it didn't, because I would have continued to then rely and think that a man was the only way I was going to fulfill that need, and not bashing men, because there's some wonderful men in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But no man or woman should assume that the opposite sex is what's going to fulfill that, right? And so when the unconditional love came from my new family, I'm blessed. I have realized that I'm blessed. At the moment, at first, it was like I kind of thought, because I have brothers and sisters and stuff, and at first I thought it was just not going to be that they weren't real excited to meet me or anything. And I wouldn't say that we're all really close. We kind of talk, but we're not super. I'm not as close to them as I maybe am with Rose.
Mm-hmm.
But I have Rose. I mean, think about how else it could have went. It could have went the complete opposite way, where they found out that their dad had another kid and didn't want to know me and all of these things, and they would have just shut me out. But that's not what I got. I met people that love me and are there for me, and so it's perspective too, right?
And being open to that, because you're the one that did that, right?
Yeah.
You went onto ancestry.com and you opened up that opportunity for yourself. Right? Or no?
Yeah. Yes, yeah. I did. It's just talking about all this stuff just makes me, I don't know if I said this, and I'm going to share it because I do want people to know that, so there was sexual abuse when I was a child, and there was rape when I was a young adult. And there was physical abuse and emotional abuse. So I'm not saying I'm the cover for an abused child, but I'm saying that I've been there for a lot of it, so I get it. And I can't fix anyone else's story, but I can be there. And and that's what I offer my students too, is like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be here, and I can't fix everything, but I can be someone that you can talk to. And I feel like if people want to email me, maybe I haven't went through your same circumstance, but like I've been that low. I felt that bad, and I'm here, and it's going to be okay. we'll make sure it's okay.
Yes. Yes. 100%. What would you like to tell other women out there that are struggling with self-worth?
My piece of advice would be to get a great counselor. And if that means you go through a few of them, that's okay. But you need to learn how to love yourself and really appreciate the amazing being that you are.
Mhm.
That's the first step. And I'm not telling you I'm 100% there, because I'm not 100% there.
Mhm.
But you have to. Like, that's what's going to keep you going and keep you away from, I think, relationships that can be damaging. And a lot of times the people in your life, I don't even know if they realize how damaging they are. It's crazy how much, once you're out of it, you see, when you look back in, you see how much garbage it was. But I think first, like, okay, very first thing is, if you think you can't do it, you're wrong. You can do this.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean that you have to leave tomorrow.
Mhm.
Okay? It doesn't mean that. You can plan. You
Yeah.
can talk to people little by little and make a decision of how this might work for you, if you have to save money or if you have to do it. If it's physical violence, that concerns me, because I would hate for people to wait too long to get out. But just be patient. There's just no rules. You're going to do it how you're going to do it, and you're going to be successful. And just the fact that you did it is so brave. The very
Mhm.
first step, just making that decision, it's so brave. But be kind to yourself and
Yeah.
and and make a plan. I'm a list girl, so I have to write down like pros
Same.
and cons and like what I need to do, because maybe I won't stay on. And when you're going through emotional roller coaster because there's garbage in your life, it's hard to remember all those things,
Yeah.
right? So um yeah, and I had to swallow my pride a little bit when there was food stamps and there was Badger Care and there was
Mhm.
uh, times when I had to, borrow money for gas for my car to get to work so that I could pay the bills. And I cried. I want you to know, I can't even count how many tears. The
Mhm.
crying, the fear as a mom, like, what am I going to do? Thank God we had food stamps, because I didn't have to worry if my kids were going to go hungry. But like everybody else at school, was going to that birthday party with a gift. And how was I going to pull that off for my kid?
Yeah.
All of those things. Um, I don't know. But you will get through it. You will get through it, and accept the kindness of strangers. Sometimes it's okay. It's okay, and you will pay it forward someday.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's definitely make a plan, get out, trust that you can do this. There's a I don't know if you felt this, but when it was really bad and you allowed yourself to dream about leaving,
Yeah.
what it could look like,
Yeah.
you kind of sometimes pulled yourself back, but every so often you'd be like, I wonder what it was like if I was just happy. And that can and will happen. It
Yeah.
can. It's
Yeah.
not a dream. It's reality. And that's your soul saying that's where you're supposed to be.
Yep.
And you're not in compliance with who you really are right now. We're at odds. What you're doing and who you are and your soul and what you're supposed to be is at odds. I'm fighting this. And that little thing that you see, that's what you're supposed to have.
Yeah.
It's not just a dream.
100%. 100%. And knowing that and then believing it.
And men too. Like, I don't want it to just, I mean, I know it's about women, but like, there are men that have felt exactly like we feel.
Yeah.
They're just anybody in the world. Like, you deserve great. You deserve great.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%.